richer than royalty, more extravagant than Hollywood. A $100 million yacht, billion-dollar arms deals, and a harem hidden from the world. But behind the unimaginable wealth lay a secret so dangerous, it shattered an empire and erased a legend. The truth has remained hidden. Check out these 8 fascinating facts about Adnan Khashoggi. The last one will surprise you. The untold story of Adnan Khashoggi. Adnan Khashoggi wasn't just a billionaire, he was a legend. The Saudi arms dealer who built an empire worth billions didn't just live rich, he lived grander than kings, outspending royalty and outshining Hollywood's elite. But it was what happened inside his world of luxury that made him truly infamous. At his peak, with a staggering net worth of $4 billion, he wasn't just making money, he was pulling the strings behind some of the biggest arms deals in history. French helicopters to Britain, missiles to Saudi Arabia. If a government wanted firepower, Khashoggi could get it for the right price. His commissions were so astronomical they became legendary. He wasn't just dealing in weapons, he was brokering luxury, influence, and connections among the world's elite. He brought Rolls-Royce, British Aircraft Corporation, and cutting-edge technology to the richest of the rich. But what made him truly infamous wasn't how he made his money, it was how he spent it, burning through $250,000 a day without hesitation, without limit. He didn't just live in luxury, he redefined it. But how long could such a reign of excess last before it all came crashing down? Nicknamed the Great Gatsby of the Middle East, Khashoggi didn't throw parties, he curated spectacles of indulgence. While he was officially married, Khashoggi maintained a secret harem of 11 stunning women, his so-called pleasure wives. These women were hand-picked, pampered, and lived in unimaginable luxury, but their world was also one of secrecy, control, and quiet submission. But the real question is, was Khashoggi just a man who lived too large, or was he a master manipulator who played the world's most dangerous game? Comment Adnan if you like him. The secrets of the Nabila super yacht, where billion-dollar deals were made. If there was one place where Khashoggi's out-of-control wealth was most evident, it was his legendary parties, those gatherings of the elite, where celebrities, billionaires, and the planet's most powerful politicians indulged in a world that could only be imagined. At the center of this limitless revelry was the Nabila, a $100 million super yacht, a floating kingdom with gold-plated interiors, marble staircases, a private movie theater, and even a helipad. But the Nabila was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of power, of secret dealings, of parties that lasted for days, where Dom Perignon champagne flowed freely and live music from Las Vegas blared all night. No one was invited onto the deck of this ship unless they were part of the real elite. Movie stars like Elizabeth Taylor, Frank Sinatra, Liza Minnelli, and financial moguls like Donald Trump, who later bought Nabila, were regulars at these exclusive parties. But more than the celebrity status of the guests, it was the women around Khashoggi that drew the most attention. Not only did he surround himself with the world's most beautiful women, supermodels, actresses, Las Vegas showgirls, he also used them as strategic pawns in his power games. Every big deal is easier when you have beautiful women around the table, Khashoggi once said. And it was true. While the gentlemen toasted expensive wines and enjoyed the glitter of crystal chandeliers, billion-dollar contracts were being signed on the deck. So how lavish were Khashoggi's parties? The menu was filled with the finest cuisine in the world: bilga, caviar, Alaskan lobster, Kobe beef, all served on gold platters. The world's top artists, from pop singers to symphony orchestras, were invited to perform privately, with fees running into the millions of dollars for a single night. But it wasn't just Nabila. Khashoggi had turned Monte Carlo, Marbella, Paris, and secret villas in the Middle East into his private playground, where parties could cost tens of millions of dollars just to entertain a small group of the most powerful people on the planet. The lavish parties, the endless revelry, the billion-dollar deals conducted under crystal chandeliers, all of that would soon be a thing of the past. Adnan Khashoggi's $1 billion real estate empire. Private jets were always ready to take off, multi-million-dollar superyachts were docked in the most exclusive ports, and a series of magnificent mansions stretched from New York to the Middle East. In the heart of Manhattan, right on Fifth Avenue, one of the most expensive addresses on the planet, was Khashoggi's luxurious penthouse inside the Olympic Tower. He didn't just buy one, he snapped up several adjacent apartments, combining them into a floating mansion, a private kingdom worth more than $100 million. This wasn't just a place to live, it was a place where he hosted elites, politicians, and people who could change the world with a handshake. But if New York was the place where power was traded, Marbella, Spain, was his real playground. This $200 million mansion was more than just a mansion. It was a palace of endless partying, spanning 20,000 square feet with a gilded fountain, a giant swimming pool, and interiors so lavish they would make royalty jealous. It was the site of legendary parties, where Khashoggi hosted everyone from Hollywood superstars to oil tycoons, Saudi princes, and high-ranking politicians. But all his possessions pale in comparison to the lavish palace in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the center of Khashoggi's empire. With an estimated value of $500 million, it was not just a home, but a royal fortress. The gold-plated interior, the multi-million-dollar artwork, the rooms protected by the latest security technology, all designed to project one thing: absolute power. In Beirut, Lebanon, he owned a $50 million mansion located right on the Mediterranean coast. This was not only a vacation spot, but also a secret meeting place, where important negotiations took place behind closed doors, where tycoons and politicians discussed plans that could change the world economy. And finally, in the wilds of Kenya, Khashoggi owned a massive ranch worth $30 million, a private paradise for lavish hunting trips with royalty and billionaires. Thousands of acres of land, wildlife reserves, private hunting trips, all reflected one thing: for Khashoggi, the world had no limit. But how long can an empire built on luxury last before it falls? And when Khashoggi's empire fell, it fell in a way no one could have predicted. Adnan Khashoggi's million-dollar car collection. His collection includes more than 100 luxury cars, from Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Lamborghini to Bentley. And many are custom-ordered with luxurious upgrades that no one else has. One of the gems in Khashoggi's collection is the Rolls-Royce Phantom VI, a super-luxury limousine worth $2 million, which is only for royalty and tycoons. With an interior covered in high-quality leather, precious wood, and perfect soundproofing, Khashoggi even ordered an armored version to ensure absolute safety. Equally powerful, the Mercedes-Benz 600 Pullman, worth $2 million, is a model that once served heads of state such as Saddam Hussein or Kim Jong-il. Not only owning luxury cars, Khashoggi is also a fan of speed. He owns a Ferrari 512 BB, one of the fastest supercars of the 80s, worth $1 million. In addition, he also owns a Lamborghini Countach LP400, a futuristic car with legendary gull-wing doors, a powerful engine, and a value of up to $2 million. With its brilliant red color, Khashoggi's Countach is not only a means of transport, but also a symbol of power. Classic cars are also indispensable in his collection. The Bentley Corniche, worth $600,000, is the choice of British tycoons with its spacious, luxurious, and classy interior. But the rarest supercar in Khashoggi's collection is the Bugatti, one of 139 cars worldwide, worth $3 million, an impressive number at that time. Khashoggi's car collection was not only a display of wealth, but also a reflection of the lavish lifestyle, vision, and power of one of the world's most famous billionaires. The cars were not only purchased, but also customized to their own style, creating unique versions. Adnan Khashoggi's million-dollar private jet collection. Of the collection, the Boeing 727 is the crown jewel, a palace floating in the sky worth $100 million after lavish upgrades. The interior, a mix of royalty and modernity. But if the Boeing 727 is a symbol of luxury, the Lockheed L-1011 TriStar is the real monster. Worth up to $120 million after being customized, this is one of the most luxurious private jets ever built. With a capacity of more than 200 people, it was only used for Khashoggi and VIP guests. But what makes it truly formidable is its state-of-the-art security system with secret partitions, allowing Khashoggi to conduct important transactions without anyone being able to break in. A shocking fact? The interior of the L-1011 TriStar is even more luxurious than the US President's Air Force One at the time. Of course, Khashoggi didn't always need the giant iron birds. When he needed to travel quickly between villas in Europe, the Middle East, and the US, he had the Gulfstream, a luxury private jet worth $20 million. Although smaller than the Boeing 727 or the L-1011 TriStar, its interior is no less luxurious with high-quality leather seats, a precious wood desk, and a small bed enough for the billionaire to enjoy comfort on every flight. Every detail is designed to reflect absolute power and status. So what do you think? If you could choose one of these flying palaces, which one would you choose? The billionaire who collected women like diamonds, Adnan Khashoggi's scandalous love life. Though legally married 3 times, he surrounded himself with an ever-revolving cast of stunning models, socialites, and high-profile lovers. But Khashoggi didn't just date women, he kept them, showering his private harem with lavish gifts, designer clothes, and diamonds that sparkled as bright as his empire. To him, luxury was the key to devotion, and he spared no expense. His first wife, Sandra Daly, was just 20 years old when she met him, a modest English woman whose life changed overnight when Khashoggi pulled her into his orbit. He offered her a job in London, but within months she had converted to Islam, taken the name Soraya Khashoggi, and become his queen. Their 1961 wedding was a global affair, followed by a honeymoon tour of the world, hopping between 5-star hotels, private estates, sticky wives, and the decks of opulent yachts. From that moment on, Soraya lived in unimaginable luxury. With 17 palatial homes around the world, she traveled effortlessly between New York, London, Saudi Arabia, and the French Riviera, all while rubbing shoulders with Hollywood icons like Elizabeth Taylor and Frank Sinatra. But behind the diamonds and designer gowns, Soraya's dream life was a gilded cage. While she raised their 5 children, Khashoggi indulged in his never-ending obsession with youth and beauty, surrounding himself with younger women. His absence became routine, his affairs an open secret. The breaking point came when Soraya, pregnant with their 5th child, discovered Khashoggi was sleeping with one of her closest friends, a model she had trusted. Determined to expose the truth, she hired a private investigator, and when the evidence surfaced, it ignited one of the most explosive divorces of the century. The court battle was ruthless, scandalous, and drenched in headlines. Soraya hired Marvin Mitchelson, one of the most feared divorce lawyers in the world, and fought for one of the largest settlements in history. The legal war turned their children into pawns, with one of the most dramatic moments occurring when a private jet carrying them was impounded mid-flight at Heathrow Airport, a shocking symbol of how far both sides were willing to go. Though she won a staggering fortune, no amount of money could erase the pain of betrayal and public humiliation. But for Khashoggi, the loss of one wife was merely the beginning of another chapter. In 1978, he married again, this time to Laura Biancolini, an Italian beauty who was just 17 when they met. Like Soraya, she converted to Islam, becoming Lamia Khashoggi, and was instantly swept into his world of luxury, power, and excess. She bore him a son, Ali, and seemed to accept the reality of being married to a man who could never be faithful. Unlike Soraya, Lamia never divorced him, staying legally bound to Khashoggi until his death in 2017, whether out of loyalty, convenience, or financial security. His 3rd and final wife, Shahpari Azamzan Sangane, was different. An Iranian socialite already accustomed to wealth, she was elegant, well-connected, and sophisticated, the perfect high society wife. Their marriage seemed more stable, but Khashoggi's appetite for younger women never faded. After more than 2 decades, Shahpari finally had enough, filing for divorce in 2014, marking the end of Khashoggi's last legal marriage. For Adnan Khashoggi, marriage was merely a formality. His true devotion was to indulgence, and his harem of lovers never stopped growing. Even as his empire crumbled, his obsession with beauty, power, and control never faded. The billionaire who bought love inside Adnan Khashoggi's secret harem. For Adnan Khashoggi, women weren't just lovers, they were trophies, symbols of power collected like rare jewels. He didn't love them in the traditional sense. He owned them. In his world, beauty was currency, and he surrounded himself with the most stunning, glamorous women from Hollywood, fashion, and high society. They weren't legally his wives, but they were something else, his pleasure wives, a private harem of at least 12 breathtaking women, each carefully chosen to exist in his orbit of wealth and excess. And for these women, being with Khashoggi meant stepping into a world of unimaginable luxury. He draped them in diamonds, flew them across the globe on private jets, and housed them in his palaces and aboard his legendary superyacht Nabila. where they attended lavish parties alongside royalty, billionaires, and world leaders. But behind the designer gowns and endless indulgence, there was an unspoken rule: absolute devotion. They had to be available at all times, impress his powerful guests, and never, ever question their place. One of these women was Jill Dodd, a rising American model in Paris, whose life changed forever one summer when she was invited to Monaco for a weekend getaway. At an opulent party overlooking the Mediterranean, she caught the eye of a man twice her age, Adnan Khashoggi. He didn't approach like an ordinary man. Instead, he took her arm, rolled up her sleeve, and, in a move as bizarre as it was hypnotic, wrote "I love you" on her skin, using his own blood. Most women would be horrified. Jill was mesmerized. This wasn't just a man, he was a force, a billionaire arms dealer who made women feel like the center of the universe. When he invited her to Spain weeks later, she accepted without hesitation, believing she was stepping into a fairy tale. But Khashoggi had his own rules. When she leaned in for a kiss, he stopped her. If she wanted to be with him, it had to be on his terms. He could legally have 3 wives and up to 11 pleasure wives, and he wanted her to be one of them. There was no written contract, just a spoken agreement, but it was binding in ways Jill didn't yet realize. Khashoggi promised to cover all her expenses, give her anything she desired, but she had to be his 24/7, no questions asked. She knew exactly what he was: a married man, a billionaire, a powerful figure surrounded by women. And yet she said yes. At first, the luxury was intoxicating. Private jets, multi-million-dollar jewelry, world-class chefs preparing gourmet meals. When Khashoggi offered her a 20-carat diamond ring in Kenya, she hesitated, overwhelmed by the excess. But soon she craved it. Watching the other women dripping in jewels, wrapped in couture, she wanted more. She let herself sink into the world of endless indulgence, floating between mansions, yachts, and designer boutiques. But even paradise has a price. Jill soon realized she was just one of many, competing for Khashoggi's attention in a never-ending cycle. The glamour faded into anxiety. By 22, she felt old compared to the newer, younger women entering the harem. The moment of clarity hit in Las Vegas, when she noticed another woman flashing an identical diamond ring to the one Khashoggi had given her. She wasn't special, she was replaceable. Not long after, she walked away. No money, no diamonds, no private jets, just the clarity that freedom was worth more than wealth. Years later, reflecting on her time in Khashoggi's world, she said, "Chasing happiness through wealth is like running after your own shadow. No amount of money could fill the emptiness." But Jill never spoke badly of Khashoggi. She didn't see him as a monster, but as a man who made her feel special, even if only for a moment. She left, built a new life, married, had 3 children, and never looked back. For Adnan Khashoggi, however, the story didn't end so neatly. From billionaire wasteful to lonely death, the tear-drenched tragedy of Adnan Khashoggi. Khashoggi thrived as a top negotiator, brokering major arms deals between the West and the Middle East. But in 1987, he became embroiled in the Iran-Contra scandal, a covert operation in which the Reagan administration sold weapons to Iran and funneled the profits to Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Although Khashoggi was never convicted, the controversy tarnished his reputation. By 1990, his troubles had deepened. Arrested in Switzerland on money laundering and fraud charges, he was accused of helping Imelda Marcos, wife of ousted Philippine dictator Ferdinand Marcos, hide stolen government money. Although he was eventually acquitted, the damage was irreparable. His previously limitless cash flow dried up overnight. Banks turned their backs, investors disappeared. And without the money to sustain his empire, everything began to fall apart. As the money disappeared, Khashoggi was forced to sell off symbols of his power. The $100 million Nabila, the super yacht that had hosted lavish parties with royalty in Hollywood, was sold off to Donald Trump for just $7 million, a shameful sum compared to its true value. Trump renamed the ship the Trump Princess and turned it into his new pride. Khashoggi's legendary real estate also fell into the hands of others. His lavish villa in Marbella, Spain, where he had hosted million-dollar parties, was sold to pay off debts. His penthouse at the top of the Olympic Tower in New York, once his airborne fortress, was gone. As a billionaire, Khashoggi was surrounded by the most glamorous women in the world. But as his fortune evaporated, so did they. The harem of 12 beauties who once vied for his attention was now empty. The women who once considered him the center of the world had found other rich men. Khashoggi lost more than just his money. In his final years, he suffered from Parkinson's disease. His body was failing, and he was left with no one but one woman, Soraya Khashoggi's first wife, whom he had betrayed repeatedly. With the world turning its back on him, Khashoggi was admitted to St. Thomas Hospital in London under an assumed name in a desperate attempt to avoid the humiliation of being seen at his most vulnerable. But through it all, Soraya was there. She pushed his wheelchair, sat by his bedside, and cared for the man who had abandoned her for a life of luxury. And in those final moments when no money, power, or fame stood between them, they found a little peace. On June 6, 2017, Adnan Khashoggi breathed his last at the age of 81. No more yachts, no more mansions, no more lavish parties or beautiful women around him. Only one woman remained who forgave him, sitting there holding his hand as he entered eternity. Khashoggi's story is a grim reminder of the fleeting nature of money, power, and beauty. When they are in your hands, they can sway the world, but when they are gone, they all turn to dust. Money can buy luxury, but not true loyalty. When the light fades, the only thing left are the people who once truly loved you. What do you find most impressive about Adnan Khashoggi? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Like this video, subscribe so you never miss a new story about the world's most fascinating people. Thanks for watching.